Hello and welcome to Eastern Creek for round 1 of the 1994 Australian Manufacturers Championship. Peter Dougman on screen in car number 1, the Clark BMW. He was the 1993 winner of the 2 litre class in the Australian Touring Car Championship, and for 1994 the 2 litre class has gone out on its own for a standalone series to Class 2 regulations. Therefore that's why Peter Dougman's running the number 1, pictured here during practice and qualifying. The 2 favourites for this season though: car number 25, the yellow BMW, Benson & Hedges Racing, Tony Longhurst, former Bathurst winner, expected to be the front runner this year, but he'll be pushed all the way by his young teammate in the white BMW just ahead. Car number 23, Diet Coke sponsorship, young Paul Morris. He's been in the team alongside Tony Longhurst in the Australian Touring Car Championship for the last 2 years. From England, James Kay, car number 12, the Oryx Toyota Carina, one of the leading privateers in the British Touring Car Championship, and he's alongside young Kiwi Greg Murphy just ahead of him here in car number 21. Phil Ward, Technophone Mercedes 190E. He's running a 2-car team with Peter McKay, journalist racer, long-time journalist racer, running the 2nd car. Phil Ward's been running these Mercedes for a long time. The McKay car is an ex-Group A car from the mid-80s, whereas Phil Ward's car is a more recent DTM car, down spec from 2.5 litres to 2 litres. And here's our car, car number 9, the Phoenix Motorsport Peugeot 405. Russ Dougman, that's us, and we'll be trying to see what we can do in this championship. Hopefully get up amongst the front runners if all goes to plan. Here's the calendar for the season. Round 1 here at Eastern Creek. Round 2 we go down to Victoria at Phillip Island, and we stay in Victoria for round 3 on the tight confines of Winton. Up to Queensland for round 4 at the wonderful Lakeside Raceway. Down to South Australia and Malala for round number 5, and the final round, round 6, Oran Park in New South Wales on the short circuit, the traditional grand final home of Australian touring car racing. Each round has 2 races. Qualifying forms the grid for race 1, while the race 1 finishing order forms the race 2 grid. Points are awarded to the first 10 finishes in each race, from 20 points down to 1 point for 10th place. So let's now go see how they lined up after qualifying. So the grid for round 1, race 1, here at Eastern Creek today. Pole position, the Technophone Mercedes 190E, Phil Ward, number 018. Position 2, Tony Longhurst, the Benson & Hedges Racing BMW, car number 25. Position 3, Paul Morris, and the number 23, Diet Coke Racing BMW. From 4, the second of the Technophone Mercs, Peter McKay, number 015. From 5, James Kay from England in the number 12, Oryx Toyota Carina. From position 6, the reigning 2 litre champion of Australia, Peter Dougman in the Clark BMW M3. From 7, Mark Adderton in the Momo BMW. From 8, Greg Murphy in the second of the Oryx Toyota Carinas, car number 21. From 9, John Blanchard in the number 20 BMW M3. Position 10, the first of the Fords, Steve Ellery in the Chelgrave Ford Sierra. From 11, Peter Hills in the second of the Fords, car number 98. From 12, car number 2, John Cotter in the second of the Clark BMW M3s. From 13, that's us, Ross Dougman, the first of the Peugeots, car number 9. From 14, Phil Alexander in another Peugeot 405, and from position number 15, Ken Matthews in the number 88 Phoenix Motorsport Peugeot 405. So that's the lineup. We'll now go down into the car for race number 1. On the grid, ready to go for round 1, race 1. Lights are on. Away we go. Bogged down a little bit. Phil Alexander managed to get his Peugeot in front of us. Down into turn 1 for the first time, the sweeper. The field backs up a bit. Going to run up the inside. Down to second gear. Can we get up the inside of Peter Hills in the Sierra? Oh, I'll give him a little nudge, but not quite. Turn 3, he's left a bit of a gap. Can we get up the inside over the hill? the inside. There's a car off. Looked like one of the Mercedes. Through turn 5, up the back end of the circuit. Can we follow Hills up the inside of the Toyota? Greg Murphy's gone off. He's back on. We're into his door. But we're ahead. Over Corporate Hill for the first time. Down to the hairpin. Up to third gear. Fourth round, the last couple of corners to end the first lap. Over the curb. Tail end came out a little bit. Oh, missed the apex horribly there. Over on the curb, Murphy's underneath us. He's given us a really bad run into the straight, I think. John Cotter in the BMW is coming up the inside. He goes wide. Oh, we're up the inside. Oh. How did we get away with that? Oh, we're into Ellery's door. Sorry, Steve. Very desperate opening couple of laps. Or opening lap. The Mercedes is out of the race. It's still parked there. Through turn 5. Out to the curb. Down to second gear. Up over Corporate Hill. Out wide, trying to cut back in. Almost gave Ellery a chance to get back under us. Rear end of the Peugeot is very taily. I'm finding it very hard to keep it from coming around on me. I haven't been able to dial it out during practice or qualifying. So it might be something I'm just going to have to live with. Across the line into lap number 3. Down now to turn 2. Back end just comes around very easily. Driving the Phoenix Motorsport Peugeot. Teammate to Ken Matthews. One of 3 Peugeots in the race. On the back bit of the circuit, looks like a bit of action up ahead of us. We're creating our own action there. May give an Ellery a run on us, but he just falls in behind us as we head over Corporate Hill, or Family Hill as Mike Raymond used to call it. Probably because there were never any corporates on Corporate Hill that I remember. I don't think the original intention of putting the corporates in that area was ever really realised. Over the curb. Round to end, lap number 4. Down the Eastern Creek front straight. And there's a car on fire there. That looks like the other Mercedes. So both the Mercedes are out after both of them qualified in the top 4. So both McKay and Phil Ward Phil Watercourse had pole. So that's moved us into the points. There's the other Technophone Mercedes off to our left. It's been there since lap 1. Around the back part of the circuit. Now in 1994 the track used to ease right about here and then swing back left. But in 2012 they straightened the run into turn 6. There is a version of that track available in GTR2, but it's nowhere near as good as this. And I think it was a conversion from Toka 1, Toka Race Driver 1. And I figure when I do these series, obviously you want the accurate tracks, but if there's a track that's almost the same but is a much better quality, I think we'll use them. And in this case there's only one corner which is slightly different, so I think it's better to use this version of the track. Back comes around us. I think I saw a white Toyota Carina off at the hairpin, and which has moved us up to 9th, so whether it was James Kay or Greg Murphy, we'll find out at the end of the race. Bit of attrition early on. Which I guess could be expected in the first event of a new series. Although 2-litre cars had run in 1993 as part of the Australian Touring Car Championship alongside the V8s, a lot of them were just converted Group A cars. Oh, and we're off. That was a poor error. So we've dropped behind Steve Ellery. Back to 10th. Around onto the front straight. So past the Mercedes. One great thing about GTR2 is that they leave the broken down cars, if they're not in too much of a dangerous spot, they leave them on the side of the track for the rest of the race rather than just escape the cars back to the pits. Which is what they would have done in 1994. Safety cars were probably in the regulations for the 94 Australian Manufacturers Championship, but I don't recall them using them. Yellow flag's out again. There's a car up here on the left. It's the other Carina. So both Mercedes and both Toyota Carinas are out inside the first 6 laps of the new season. Over Corporate Hill. So there's the other Carina off on the left there. Parked on the short circuit, which goes from turn 4, where we turn right at turn 4, it goes left and cuts through to the back end of the chicane. Through this awkward right left to end the lap. Onto the front straight. I was saying earlier, 2-litre cars had run as a Class B in the 93 Australian Touring Car Championship alongside the new V8s, Holtons and Fords. But sort of broke away to form their own series for 94, which I don't think the front-running V8 teams were overly disappointed about. As much as the 2-litre fraternity didn't want to be perceived to be second best, I think the V8 teams were also happy enough to lose some slower cars. Even though Steve Ellery, who we're chasing, he did 2 rounds of the 94 Australian Touring Car Championship. It was the only non-V8 in the field because the regulations were still open to have 2-litre cars in the field. So he did Emeroo and Sandown, I think, the first 2 rounds before the Australian Manufacturers Championship started. Around the hairpin, he's not really getting away from us yet, but we're not really closing on him either. We've got 8 seconds on 10th place. Peugeot's perhaps not the car to have in the 94 Australian Manufacturers Championship because the 3 of us qualified 13th, 14th, 15th. Into the fantastic turn 1. Bit under 190 kilometres an hour, then down into this slow double apex turn 2. Wide and try and cut in on the exit. Four laps to go. Over the hill where the tunnel to get into the circuit, into the pits, runs. Fourth gear. Back to the slow second gear, turn 6. Over Corporate Hill where we made the mistake earlier, sideways. Down to second gear. Hook into the hairpin. Third gear. We seem to lose out on the first half of the lap, but then we gain a bit of time on the second half of the lap. Over the curb. Around onto the front straight. The first touring car race at Eastern Creek was the grand opening of the track in 1990 for Group A touring cars. Did have an international element to that race because Murray Walker was part of the commentary team. He stayed on from the Australian Grand Prix a week earlier. Called the race for Channel 9 alongside Big Darrell Eastlake and Win Percy that day, who wasn't racing. But another link there is that Channel 9 had the rights not only to that race in 1990 but also in 1994 to the Australian Manufacturers Championship, and Darrell Eastlake was the head commentator of Super Touring, or Class 2 2-litre racing, which was called in 94. That 1990 race was a 500 kilometre Group A touring car race won by Larry Perkins and Thomas Mazzero. Their V8 Commodore. We're almost there with Ellery, but we're just lapping very similarly. I was hoping his tyres might have fallen away a bit by now, but maybe ours are too. Onto the main straight. Eastern Creek, of course, primarily was built for the 1991 Australian Motorcycle Grand Prix, where they wrested the rights from Phillip Island. The 1991 Australian 500cc Grand Prix won very convincingly by the great Wayne Rainey. Then he just wrapped up his first World Championship, and that was laying the groundwork to defending it. Through turn 4. Try and guide it through turn 5. Coming around, we'll just have one lap to go. Over Corporate Hill. It was a bit rough and ready the first couple of laps, but it sort of settled down. The outside of this corner up on the hill is a very good place to watch racing from at Eastern Creek. Across the line, one lap to go, position 9. Given we started 13th, not overly bad, but given there's been 4 retirements too, would have been nice to have done a bit better, but we're in the mix anyway. We're a long way ahead of our fellow Peugeots. Over the hill. Be interesting to see what caused all these retirements. Up to turn 6. Second gear, floated through. Down to the hairpin. Checkered flag is out, so the winners cross the line. Dare I suggest it was probably a BMW win. And probably a Longhurst or a Morris. We'll find out shortly as we come round onto the front straight. 9th place to open the season. Not too bad. This doesn't seem to be a Peugeot track, Eastern Creek. But we'll take it. Let's now check the results of round 1, race 1 from Eastern Creek of the 1994 Australian Manufacturers Championship. And it's victory in race 1 to Tony Longhurst in the Benton & Hedges BMW under a second clear of his teammate Paul Morris. Peter Dougman 16 seconds back in 3rd, Mark Adderton 4th, and John Blanchard in the number 20 BMW rounded out the top 5. Over the page, Peter Hills in the Ford Sierra finished in 6th, just ahead of John Cotter in the second of the Clark BMWs. Steve Ellery in the Ford, he finished 8th. That's us, Russ Dougman in 9th, and rounding out the top 10, Ken Matthews, 56 seconds off the pace in the second of the Peugeot 405s. So that's race 1 of the season in the books. The point standings obviously reflect the top 10 finishing order from that race. We'll head out now with some highlights from some of the action from that opening race, and join us very soon for race 2 in the 1994 Australian Manufacturers Championship.